Baby, I do it. Amen.
Even though funds were disbursed to him to that effect, that all the equipment he claimed he purchased could not be traced. Investigations established that though Chairman Wontumi submitted the forged receipt to EXIM Bank, he stated during interrogation that he purchased second-hand brand new, whatever that means, second-hand brand new equipment, and that the receipts of all the purchases, including the documents on the equipment, were all sent to EXIM Bank. However, EXIM Bank has confirmed that neither Chairman Wontumi nor Wontumi Farms Limited submitted any documents covering the purchase of the required equipment except the forged receipts. In fact, when our investigators went to the ground, they realized that there were some obsolete, decrepit machines on the side, tractors dating back that were manufactured in the 1970s, and that were not functioning, were the ones that had been placed on the farm. So this was definitely a grand scheme designed to defraud EXIM Bank. It is clear from our investigation that Chairman Wontumi and his company, Wontumi Farms Limited, made fraudulent misrepresentations to EXIM Bank with a view to obtaining the loan facility, and in fact did obtain the loan facility. The equipment they represented were to be purchased were never procured. The farming enterprise never materialized, and so no young persons were employed in Asare Nkwanta in the Ashanti region. But more importantly, the company and its director and CEO forged a receipt in order to deceive EXIM Bank that they were in compliance with the loan conditions. These are not mere breaches of a contract, but constitute acts of criminality, by no means a person than the regional chairman of the then ruling party. In the circumstances and the face of the evidence we have gathered in this investigation, thoroughly conducted by the Economic and Organized Crime Office, we have made the decision to prosecute Wontumi Farms and its directors with defrauding by false pretenses, forgery, and causing financial loss to the state in the sum of 24,255,735 Ghana cedis. This figure represents the principal sum plus the interest that has accrued so far. And ladies and gentlemen, by the time we file charges, which will be definitely after the Christmas break when we resume work, it might be that this figure would have increased because the interest on the principal keeps compounding. And so we will get the exact figure of the amount that is involved in this criminal enterprise from the EXIM Bank before we file charges in court. Ladies and gentlemen, in the case involving Mr. Percival Akpaloo of the Liberal Party of Ghana, the Financial Intelligence Center flagged and filed a suspicious transaction report with First Bank Ghana Limited regarding transactions on an account belonging to Poma Universal Ghana Limited. That is a company owned by the said Kofi Akpaloo. Following the STR, that is a suspicious transaction report by the FIC, the Economic and Organized Crime began an investigation into the matter. The investigations revealed that Poma Universal Ghana Limited, a business entity owned entirely by a lady called Ekua Poma, was a legitimate contractor that was awarded a feeder roads contract by Cocoa Board. The contract, which was valued at 29.5 million Ghana cedis, was awarded in December 2020. Although the project commenced and an initial amount was properly deposited into Poma Universal Ghana Limited, subsequent payments raised serious concerns regarding misrepresentation, forgery, and unauthorized handling of the checks. Our investigations revealed that Akpaloo secretly incorporated another company, separate and distinct from Poma Universal Ghana Limited, also known as Poma Universal Ghana Limited, but deliberately added H to the Poma. So Poma is P-O-M-A-A, all right, Ghana Limited, which is a company which is owned by Ekua Poma. What the company that he incorporated added H to the Poma, so it became, I don't know how to pronounce it, but the same Poma, yeah, Poma Ghana Limited, Universal Ghana Limited. But the difference was just the H at the end of Poma. And so after having done this, between December 2022 and June 2024, Akpaloo collected 8 checks issued by Cocoa Board in the name of Poma Universal Ghana Limited. That is the original and authentic Poma, totaling 3.1 million. That is 3,169,432 Ghana cedis and 22 pesos, and deposited them into the account of his own company, that is also Poma Ghana Limited with an H at First Bank Ghana Limited. Again, our investigations confirmed that Ekua Poma was unaware of both the existence of the Poma Ghana Limited, that is the second company, and the diversion of the funds until Cocoa Board contacted her in June 2024 regarding outstanding balances on the contract. She subsequently discovered that Akpaloo had collected and misdirected the payments without her consent. Ekua Poma also alleged that Akpaloo forged her signature on the Cocoa Board contract using her former name, Mercy Owusu, to secure the agreement without her authorization. First Bank Ghana Limited conducted an internal investigations and corroborated the fraud allegations that we have made, concluding that Akpaloo knowingly misrepresented ownership of the checks and deposited them into the wrong account. The bank acknowledged operational failures in detecting the discrepancies between the check payee names and the account numbers. The suspects who have been investigated are Percival Kofi Akpaloo, Poma Ghana Limited, the Poma with the H, and Delvin Akpaloo, his wife. That is the spouse of Kofi Akpaloo. It's fast becoming fashionable to commit crimes with spouses these days. The evidence shows that they engage in various criminal offenses, including stealing, forgery, and money laundering. And they will be charged by my office, again, as I said, upon resumption of work after the Christmas holidays. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the media, further to the update that I provided during my press conference to announce the conclusion of investigations into the buffer stock scandal, my office continues to work with other institutions of state to bring charges in relation to the oral investigation reports submitted by the National Intelligence Bureau. As you have known by now, pursuant to discussions with the Auditor General, the sums of money involved in the National Service scandal have been disallowed by the Auditor General, and these sums have been surcharged on the public officers who superintended the looting of state resources at the NSA. The notices of disallowance and surcharge have been duly issued and served on the said public officers. After 14 days, if they fail to show cause why the sums of money should not be disallowed and surcharged on them, the money becomes a debt due and owing to the Republic. And I will proceed to take civil action to recover the sums involved. Once a judgment is obtained, it will be executed using the civil procedure mechanisms, including the attachment of properties they own, whether or not these properties were part of the proceeds of crime. I intend to write formally to the Auditor General for confirmation of the notices of disallowance and surcharge. So I want to send a message to all public officers who are superintending the expenditure of state funds, that from now onwards, when you are charged with the offense of causing financial loss to the state, even though with respect to that offense, we don't need to show that you have in any way benefited from the transaction that either intentionally or recklessly caused financial loss to the state. We will begin the process of surcharging all public officers who have caused financial loss to the state. So in addition to the criminal charges which will be filed, we will ask the Auditor General to disallow and surcharge the sums of money lost to the state on the public officers. Now note, ladies and gentlemen of the media, I do not need to prove your guilt in a criminal matter, all right, in order to be able to succeed in the surcharge and disallowance, because that is a civil matter. It's proved on the basis on the balance of probabilities. So if you in any way recklessly or negligently cause financial loss to the state, all right, the surcharge and disallowance will be the mechanism that will use to recover all the money that has been lost to the state from you. And so I'm serving notice to all public officers who are especially spending officers. Those are the ones who authorize spending on behalf of the Republic, that in situations where your conduct results either intentionally or recklessly in financial loss to the state, I will be, in addition to bringing criminal charges, asking the Auditor General to disallow the sums and surcharge those sums on the public officers involved. Now, overall, ladies and gentlemen, the oral investigations are proceeding well, and we continue to beef up initial investigative reports in order to file charges that meet the standards of proof in criminal trials. I want to also make it clear that the Office of the Attorney General depends on a number of state institutions for information that will lead to filing of charges in court. Apart from investigations conducted by the by either the Economic and Organized Crime Office or the National Intelligence Bureau, sometimes we'll need agencies such as the Ghana Revenue Authority, for instance, to confirm if, for instance, tax evasion has taken place before we can go on to file charges. So when these state institutions delay, it also brings, some amount of delay to the filing of charges. So I'm also calling upon all the state institutions that 2026 is going to be a different year. If I make demands on you and you delay, I will take the view that you are complicit in the offense that has been committed, and I'll come after you. So all state institutions that have information that is required to file criminal proceedings should not should not delay in providing that information to my office for purposes of the conduct of prosecutions. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you and to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Attorney General. Now, all those who are present, media men and women, and are willing to ask questions of the Attorney General in respect of the briefing he just gave, or any matter relating to oral, or any matter that falls under his purview, should please line up behind the microphone. So you identify yourself as usual, and then indicate which media house you are representing.
We have become aware of what the President indicated when he said he was going to go after people who have misappropriated or stolen funds that belongs to the state, not just of the past administration, but then the current administration as well. We also know the fight against Galamsey has been one of the topmost ones. Just last week, we got wind of an individual, a lawyer, who was written to the Office of the Attorney General requesting the state of investigations regarding officials of your government, notably Joseph Yamin and then one Abanga. One, what is the current progress of investigations? And then what is the interim findings that EOCO has made and submitted to your office, and are there timelines with respect to which you may be filing charges, if any?
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? So please, anybody who has a question should line up so that we do not take too much time. in this session.
Good morning. My name is Shatta, Metro TV. My question is, what happens in cases where people make false representations to banks and the banks grants the people the loan? Would the AG also hold those financial institutions accountable? Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Patrick Casford Boidu. Mr. Attorney General, I just want to find out, looking at the funds or the financial statement involved in these two investigations that you have done, I just want to find out whether the parties involved, that is the Wontumi and that of Mr. Kofi Akpaloo, who can come back and re-bargain in this case. Thank you very much.
Okay, Honorable Attorney General, you may answer these questions. Okay. At this time, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. There are basically three questions. One relates to a letter purported to have been written to my office requesting information on the state of investigations relating to Joseph Yamin and then Abanga. Well, first of all, I haven't received any letter to that effect. If the lawyer has made the letter publicly available, you can forward it to me, and I'm sure most of you have my numbers, so you can forward it to me immediately, and then I will take the requisite action. As far as the investigation is concerned, it is ongoing. Now, you realize that in all the briefings that I make or I do with respect to any matter being investigated by EOCO, we do not announce the results of an investigation until we have come to the conclusion. So you notice from even today's press conference that I have said I am announcing the conclusion of investigations. All right. The issue of illegal mining is a very complex one. I am not holding brief for the EOCO for any delay in issuing a report in relation to the two that I wrote to them and asked that the investigations be conducted, because we had picked some intelligence about their involvement in illegal mining. So certainly a report will be issued by the EOCO in due course. However, there are a number of persons that were connected, all right, to that, the activities that were alleged to have been undertaken by the two persons that are referred to the EOCO. Okay, so it's not like their investigation is going to be in isolation. There's a whole complex web of people who were involved, so the investigations are still ongoing. Now, the Metro TV gentleman asked the question as to whether if representations are made, misrepresentations are made to banks, and the banks are based upon those misrepresentations grant loans, right, whether the banks themselves can be held accountable. All right. Now, if you do make misrepresentations in your loan documents, all right, which are essentially contractual, and that applies to the Wontumi case, okay, the bank is entitled to take legal action against you for damages for misrepresentation, okay, which is a remedy that is available under in the law of contract. All right. So a bank necessarily does not commit an offense by relying on the misrepresented facts to grant a loan. Do you get the explanation? All right. So that is a matter of contract. However, if you look at what happened in the Wontumi case, is beyond. Okay, so there are two forms of misrepresentation. You can have a fraudulent misrepresentation that borders on criminality, all right, that borders on fraud, okay, that can lead to prosecution for defrauding by false pretenses, all right, and the criminal liability is on the person that made the fraudulent misrepresentation and not the fraudulent representation and not the bank. So you cannot hold the bank to a criminal for criminal accountability in respect of it, because the bank relied on the representation. You can say that it was not diligent. They should have conducted their own due diligence in order to be able to, act prudently and not give the loan to a person who actually does not intend first to use the loan for the purposes for which it was contracted, and secondly, basically wants to defraud the bank. All right. So banks cannot be held, criminally liable because they have relied on those misrepresentations made by persons who are seeking, loan facilities from them. Now, the third question relates to the issue of plea bargaining. And I do not want to walk myself into any trouble. All right. I have stated, and time without number, that the law allows persons who intend to plead guilty and make restitution to do so. So those of you who are, I know some of you are attempting to be lawyers. Others are also pocket lawyers. You can, I'm talking about the journalists who sometimes report from the court. You can look at Section 35, all right, of the Courts Act, okay, especially where the criminal conduct affects the interests of the state. The person can pay restitution, plead guilty to the offense, pay restitution, and get a non-custodial sentence. In other words, they don't go to prison, for that. Under the Plea Bargain Act, they can decide that they want to plead to a lesser offense, all right, pay back the monies. In the case of, Chairman Wontumi, in excess of 24 million Ghana cedis, all right, and then they'll be given a suspended or custodial sentence. In the case of Akpaloo, the same, can happen. So the plea bargaining statutes allow them to take advantage of that. But I am the Attorney General. I am the prosecutor. I am not defense counsel. So it is not left to me to advise them what to do. In fact, what I want to do is make my case to the court, prove beyond reasonable doubt that they have committed the offenses that I'm charging them with, all right? And if the court finds them guilty, it will sentence them to prison terms for what they have, for the wrongs that they have committed, all right? That is my strategy. But because this is oral, I think sometimes the tendency is to say, talk about recovery, all right? But we can do recovery post, the sentence. If someone has been sentenced, I can still go after their assets. And in the case of Wontumi, one of the things that I forgot to say is that we actually froze his assets, including a 50 million CD account, that belongs to a company of his, an insurance company of his, that we froze. And so it's easily, it's possible for me even now, all right, to take steps, to recover in a civil action using the EOCO, Act, okay, to recover the 24 million, that was taken from EXIM Bank, right? So for me, it is left to their lawyers to decide the path that they want, to tread. If they want to defend the action and then get to trial, and then be pronounced guilty or not guilty, is left to them. If they also want to short-circuit the process by plea bargaining, it is left to them. I would not advise them. I will not be the one to proffer that advice. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Quick update on the National Cathedral. We heard Dr. Mahini yesterday speak about or express his revulsion at the whole state of affairs of the National Cathedral. What is the state of the forensic audit that His Excellency the President asked you to do?
Thank you very much. So the forensic audit, as you rightly pointed out, was at the direction or command of His Excellency the President, after he met with myself and the Auditor General, and I think the Finance Minister. Subsequently, we had a meeting at the Ministry of Finance where it was decided that we should speedily get a private audit firm to do the forensic audit. Now, I cannot procure, usually if I'm procuring services, it will be legal services. All right. There's no precedent of an Attorney General procuring non-legal services. And because this is audit and will be supervised by the Auditor General, it was the Auditor General who was given the task by the Minister of Finance to proceed to procure the services of an audit firm to conduct the forensic audit. And Pricewaterhouse was, chosen to do this work by the Auditor General. The last time I checked, they had actually written to my office, this was last week, they had written to my office that they are coming, they want a meeting with me to understand to understand some of the issues that are that are germane to the forensic audit that they are conducting. Now, that doesn't mean that they've done significant work and they are getting to the end of their work, but they want some of the stakeholders, such as myself, all right, to have a conversation with them regarding the work that they are doing. So very soon, I want to assure Ghanaians that very soon we will have the report of the forensic audit conducted by PwC, and that will let us know whether or not any wrongdoing had taken place.
Last one or one and a half. You've mentioned public officers being surcharged, but I'm also looking at the Auditor General's report. We keep hearing a lot of financial misapplication. What happens to those reports or afterwards? And then regarding the plea bargain, you also spoke about people have approached for plea bargain. We keep hearing it that consistently. We are going for Christmas. How much so far would you say you have been able to garner? Maybe we can use some for Xmas. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So the Auditor General report, as you rightly pointed out, is usually replete with acts of malfeasance by public officers. And then most of the time, they appear before Parliament. They are queried on those acts of malfeasance or audit findings, and then some of them are able to come up with evidence that they either did not, they either did not commit the malpractice alleged, okay, or that they have since remedied the situation. All right. Now, that is within the remit of the Auditor General. The power to surcharge and to disallow and surcharge is a power granted under Article 187 of the Constitution to the Auditor General. So he alone can disallow and surcharge. All right. I come in, or my office comes in, at the point where we have to take action to recover. We have to take legal action to recover. And that is where we can come in and take the action based upon the disallowance and surcharge notices to recover from the persons who have been surcharged. Yes, and then talking about recovery, offers have been made, as I've said. In some cases, in the National Service case, for instance, one person offered to pay 22 million Ghana cedis, okay, out of, I think, 30-something, about 38 million, and I rejected the offer. All right. So, yes, offers, keep being made, but sometimes the offers are made conditional on people just bringing the money and walking away, and I say no. So that is where we are. That is why we haven't recovered. But we will certainly recover, and we will recover a lot of money. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Attorney General, for that concise briefing and your crisp responses. So we'll draw down the curtains on today's edition, and in fact, this year's edition, unless something of biblical proportions happens before the end of the year. So to all of you who have been part of the